Hi, I'm Jess.
And I'm Kassidy.
And we're two 21-year-olds from Canada.
And it's our turn to tell you our side of the story.
We're going to give you some tips and tricks on all things to do with concerts and tours.
And show you what it's really like to be a fangirl.
Stay tuned and we'll show you the ins and the outs of this lifestyle.
And tell you some interesting stories along the way.
Because it's finally
our turn.
Hello, guys, and welcome to episode 10.
Oh, I think it's episode 10. Did you check? I forgot to check. We're really bad at this.
I think it's episode 10. I'm pretty sure we posted episode 9 last week.
How are you guys doing today? I hope you're doing well. Today we have an exciting episode. It kind of correlates to last week's episode on our travel stories.
It's not necessarily last week we did stories. Mm-hmm. This week we're kind of telling you things that you should make sure you do and like tips
and tricks,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
it's still fun to talk about because it gets us in the
spirit
of traveling for shows.
Exactly. So, as you guys have probably heard, if you've seen any of the love not being able to speak. If you've seen any of the other episodes about like traveling and our story times and stuff, you'd probably know that we've had our fair share of mishaps.
We've had so many mishaps.
Oh yeah.
But that's why we know the things we know now and know what not to do.
And we know what to do now. So we're going to share that knowledge with you guys, and hopefully you won't make the same mistakes that we did. And hopefully, just pretend it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, hopefully your experience will be smooth sailing. Unlike
we're going to kind of give you some tips on what to do to make it smooth sailing. We're also going to, I said tips.
Okay.
We're going to give you some tips to do on how to make it smooth sailing, and then we're also going to give you some tips on how to make it a little bit cheaper, because travel is not cheap. But there are ways to make it cheaper than what it is.
So I think we should probably start on the whole planning, because that's kind of the first thing you tend to do, which is a very, very, very important aspect of it. I mean, like, you don't have to plan way in advance. I know some people like last minute trips, and like those are totally good too.
We've done a couple of last minute trips. Mm-hmm. Like, some people plan like way ahead of time. We planned a trip like a month beforehand.
Yeah, we just kind of were like, let's just go.
I planned Australia pretty last minute.
You planned New York like what, a week and a half before, it seemed like?
Yeah, I saw the show and then I was like, I want to see it again.
Let's just go.
And then my mom was like, no. And I was like, yeah.
My flight's booked. Bye.
She was like, who are you going with? And I was like, myself.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, when you are planning, make sure you do your research beforehand. Even if it's like a little bit of research and it's a last minute trip, look into stuff. I love Expedia. We always check.
We do.
Expedia.
We check a bunch of different places.
What is it? Orbitz or something is another one.
Expedia and Orbitz are the two main ones we always check.
Yeah.
And then I also tend to check their Google reviews too. You want to make sure that you're not going to a place that has bed bugs.
Yes, yeah.
And is like in a dangerous part of town. You want to kind of make sure you check reviews.
Google or TripAdvisor, make sure you're not booking something that is great in pictures, but horrible in person. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you never know what pictures.
Have a really good way of making you think it's going to look better than it is.
Oh, yeah, that happens way too many times. So just make sure you do research beforehand. But yeah, first thing I feel like a lot of people do is planning flights. Like we said, check the sites. But I feel like, honestly, I personally do this. So I feel like a lot of people don't. I don't know if people like early flights, but I love early flights because I feel like you have the whole day then.
Yeah.
And so I definitely
like early flights. I'd rather be up early because you can sometimes sleep on a plane.
Exactly. Like if you're going to.
I don't always sleep on a plane, but sometimes you can.
Like if you're going to take the day off work, might as well book it early, get going, get to the city.
Also, you can get there.
Exactly. You never know if there's going to be like a delay on the flight or not. Because like when I flew to Florida this last time, we were supposed to be there around dinner time, and we didn't end up getting there till like 9 p.m. because there were so many delays, and like we got stuck in Texas.
If you can avoid it, try not to fly in on the day of a show.
Yes, that's another huge thing.
And if you have to fly in on the day of a show, make sure it is like an early flight. Like you're getting there for 9 a.m. just in case something backfires.
Like when we flew from San Diego to Vegas, we had to fly on the day of the show because obviously if you're doing back-to-back shows, it's very, very hard to go night of.
But like when I did Australia, I was able to do a flight the day in between, so I didn't have to go on the same day.
Yeah, ideally that would be great, but it doesn't always work out that way. So if you are
If
going
you're
back to
going on
back
tour,
shows,
chances are the shows are
back to back at some point. So yeah, try to either book a Greyhound for the morning, super, super, super early, or a flight super early. That way, if there is delays or traffic or whatever it might be, you can still get there in time.
Try to avoid Greyhounds for same day shows if you can, because they are
or
not.
just in general.
Yeah, but it is a cheaper way, and I've taken Greyhound plenty of times. It's only the one time I've been screwed over by Greyhound. And like I traveled all of Australia in a Greyhound. Like
yeah, I guess it does depend on where you're going and stuff,
yeah.
but there's also like Megabus and stuff like that too.
But there's all the different like bus options that you can take. But try to, if you can, if they have a late enough one, you can leave the night before so that you're there really early in the morning. If not, take the first one out, but try to avoid that on the same day show because like I said, they're not always reliable. There can be traffic, it can break down, and with a bus, like with a plane, if a plane breaks down, it could be a little bit easier to get you on another flight going somewhere. Whereas if that bus breaks down, you are pretty much screwed.
Yeah, like for us, we took going from Costa Mesa to San Diego, we took a Greyhound because it was only a couple hours and it just wasn't worth it to try and fly from like either LA or Anaheim to San
It would have taken
Diego.
us 45 minutes to get to the airport from Anaheim.
And then the flight, and then, yeah, it was just like not worth it. Plus the amount of money it would have spent for like a 30-minute flight. Greyhound was much more a feasible option.
Because even if the Greyhound did break down for that, we could have gotten
Ubers and stuff too. Yeah, we were definitely.
I mean, it wouldn't have been
that.
cheap, but like we could have done it.
I think it was like $200.
Yeah,
but still, it's like if someone would have just picked us up and drove us there, it realistically it's split 3 ways, $200.
Would have been
like,
about the same.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more, but not by that much. Like, yeah, we should have just done that, honestly, now thinking about it. But that's why you plan. That's why you do your research and check into things beforehand. So
if you're old enough or you have a parent going with you, another good way is if it's not a far distance between it,
drive.
Rent a car.
Yes.
Drive. Like when we do Seattle and Portland, we drive.
Yeah, it was so much easier. If you do have a car, another great thing is drive at night. Drive after the show. If you're doing back-to-back shows, like we said, try and drive out after the show. So then that way you're there in the morning and you don't have to worry about like.
If you do that, you do have to make sure you contact the hotel beforehand, see if you can get it early. Otherwise,
exactly. Yeah. Again, whole thing, research. Make sure you look into all the details beforehand and you have everything all organized. And speaking of organization, have all your stuff together. Print out your documents. Print out your flights and like concert tickets, everything like that. That's personally what both of us do.
I bring a little folder and I have copies of everything, all of our itineraries, all of our hotel check-ins, all of our flight information, all of that. And I have it in case phones aren't that reliable and sometimes they can crap out on you.
Especially traveling internationally for us.
Yeah.
It's definitely nice to have it physical. I do the same thing, and like we always make sure we have our stuff before we go. We actually a couple of times have had like doubles of stuff because like I'll have a copy, she'll have a copy, just in case, because like you never know what's going to happen. And keep that in your carry-on. Do not let that go under the plane.
Is the easiest place to put it in case when you need to get it out. It's easier to get it out of a backpack in like a folder than it is to try and find it in your carry-on suitcase.
Exactly. It saves you a lot of time and a lot of struggles when you do end up needing it. So be prepared, be smart, and pack accordingly.
Pack light.
Yes, very important.
That's another way to make it much cheaper is to pack light because then you don't need to bring a suitcase. You can just bring a carry-on suitcase and a backpack.
Yeah.
As long as I went somewhere for 6 months and I only took a backpack, but that's because I was backpacking. Most people can't do that. So depending on how long you're going for, you might need to bring a second suitcase. But like if you're only going for a week, you can pull off
probably fit it in a backpack and a carry-on suitcase, and that saves you, for most airlines, it saves you the cost of checking a suitcase. Again, research it, figure it out. If you have to pay for a carry-on, check a suitcase. It's just way more feasible. It's a little bit more, but honestly, it's just so much more worth it.
You can also share with who you're traveling with.
Exactly. Plus, not only that, you can put your liquids in it.
I would never be able to fill a whole suitcase. I went to Australia for 3 weeks and I didn't fill a whole suitcase. I couldn't even fill a whole suitcase.
And you put your carry-on inside of your suitcase, didn't you?
I did.
But that's because you left it at one place and you needed it, so it made sense. But
the only reason I really brought a big suitcase to Australia was because it was included on all my flights.
Yeah, so it's like,
So
why
it's
not?
Why not?
Exactly. You don't have to worry about travel size containers and stuff too.
Yeah,
Which is
that's
very,
the
very
nice thing
nice.
about a big suitcase is you can bring whatever products you want. I mean, but then
Exactly.
you have to worry about the weight. So still, the first point that we made was pack light, and still pack light because your suitcase can only weigh a certain amount, unless you want to pay over.
Yes, which is not worth it.
No.
Speaking of
Better off
packing
getting
light, even if you're packing light, make sure you bring something warm. Even if you're going somewhere in the summer, like, and you don't think you're gonna need it.
Sometimes
Inside,
it's cold at night.
exactly.
I
Or
got cold in Australia, and I didn't have enough jackets. I had jackets, but not enough.
yeah, like in Vegas, I was freezing. In San Diego, I was freezing at night. Like, it gets cold sometimes. And this was in July, and like Vegas is a pretty hot place to go in the summer.
Like at nighttime, it cools down. The sun's not out. It's not as hot as it was. I'm not as bad as Jess when it comes to getting
I get
cold
really
in
cold.
places. I mean, right now I'm cold, but it's also November in Canada,
So it makes sense. Pack it just in case. You never know. It's worth it just to bring it. You can always throw it in your carry-on, in your backpack, tie it around your waist, use it as a pillow on the plane. Like, planes are a lot of times cold too. So bring it. That's going to be, yeah.
There's certain items that you don't need to overpack, but then there's certain items that you want to pack extra of. Pack
Like
extra
socks
and like underwear and stuff. You never know like what you're gonna need. Like for instance, Jess stepped in a puddle of mud and needed extra socks, and she didn't have them.
I did have them. They just were in my suitcase, so I couldn't get to them.
Yeah.
But I had to fly from San Diego to Vegas with a muddy and disgustingly soggy, wet sock, and I think I took my sock off actually. You know what?
A lot of people
threw my socks away.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I would have done the same thing. A lot of people count how many days they're gone and just bring that amount.
Pack 2 extra.
I pack way more extra because it's not like it weighs a lot and it takes up a lot of space. So like if I'm going for 7 days, I bring 14. I double it just in case.
Oh yeah, you don't need that many.
Every single day I step in a puddle and I need a different pair of socks.
Oh, see, I tend to bring like 2, maybe 3 extra depending on.
Yeah, no, I like double the amount.
Yeah. You can also do that, but again, pack light.
Pack light, but that stuff doesn't really like
exactly.
For like underwear and socks. I can fit them in my bras.
Exactly. Yeah, like it's not.
So I'm not talking about like shoes. Don't pack too many shoes.
No.
Only like.
Realistically, are you going to wear them all? Like, have your pair of shoes, have your other pair of shoes, have your sandals. You need more than that. Like, if you're going to wear heels,
you should be able to wear a pair on the plane too. So like,
exactly.
I know people that can just pack like an entire suitcase of shoes.
I could. I wouldn't wear them.
Shoes.
I would not wear them. And that's the thing is so many times I'll pack so many things like extra shirts and extra socks and extra shorts and extra shoes. And like, I won't ever need them. And the thing is, do I really need to pack them? Like the socks, okay, sure. The t-shirt, you know what? Okay, because I bought a new one. That's why I didn't wear them. But the 8 pairs of pants that I brought that I didn't wear a single one.
And like pants, it's kind of like you can wear the same pants with different shirts.
Exactly.
And like a lot of the times people aren't going to notice because a lot of the times when I used to go places with my family, I'd bring a pair of pants for every day, but it would always be leggings. You wouldn't be able to tell that I brought a different pair of pants.
Yeah, it's like it depends on what you're doing. If you're going 4x4 and getting muddy and stuff, okay, fine. But like if you're just going from show to show or whatever, like
with shows, it is a little bit harder because you do want to have a different outfit every day.
But this is what we did is we had our concert outfits, we had our show outfits, and then we also had our travel outfits. So like we had our hoodies. We knew we were going to buy a hoodie, so we had a hoodie, and then the one we bought, and then like a pair of leggings and a pair of shorts. And that's what we used to travel in. We had our travel stuff, which was like our merch and our comfy clothes, which was super lightweight, rolled up into nothing, t-shirt and shorts, whatever. And then our actual outfits. When you start
traveling a lot too, you get a lot better at packing it as well.
Exactly. You can roll it. That saves space. Yeah. Sometimes it depends on what it is, I found. But a lot of times you can roll your items like t-shirts or pants and it saves a lot of space.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Exactly. As you're packing, you'll learn different ways to pack things and have them fit better. Like there's packing cubes, there's rolling, there's doing it flat, there's doing it standing up. And you'll find a way that works better for you. So we took Taylor on her first flight, or at least her first flight in a long time. I think it was her first flight.
Yeah, it was her first flight ever.
But oh my god, it was so funny watching her try and pack that suitcase.
Oh my god, I was like, move over. I'm taking over.
Yeah, well, because we both are well, Jess definitely goes on more planes or has been on more planes than I have because her family does trips every year. Mine does not.
Not this year.
We can't. This year's a different year. We don't
Actually,
talk
technically,
about
I
this.
did go on a trip this year. I went on a trip in February.
But yeah, trying to watch her. And like her suitcase was so like, because she
It
had
was
a
so top
carry-on
heavy.
bag, like she had on top had all of her like makeup in it, so it was like really heavy.
Mhm.
And so she'd put it on top because it had like a sleeve on the back to hold it against, and it would just fall over.
And I'm like, Taylor, no. And then she wasn't going to bring a hoodie. Where were we? I think it was in Florida. She wasn't going to bring a hoodie. And I'm like, Taylor, it is February.
You're
Pack
better to
one. And she's like, it's not going to fit. And I'm like, move over. And sure enough, I rolled everything. I put it all in. And I'm like, do you want to bring one or two? Because you have plenty of space.
Yeah, no. A lot of people just kind of like throw it in there. And I'm like, well, if you don't throw it in there and you actually like plan
Take the
it.
time. Yeah. And like for me personally, like I have a layout. I always put my stuff in, like my socks go in this corner, my bras go in this corner, my shirts go over here. And like it's always just like the routine I do. And like you'll get that as you go. And like personally, I like to keep everything like organized inside my suitcase, especially if you're traveling for shows, because it's like one night here, a night here, half a day here.
It's always like you pull everything out of your suitcase when you get to the hotel, and then you have to repack it, and that's the worst part.
So if it's organized, you can kind of keep it as much condensed as
Make
possible.
sure you have the stuff you want to wear first on top and that kind of stuff.
Saves time. Speaking of saving time,
if you are not packing, if you are checking in a suitcase, make sure to have a portable scale.
Yes, they're super cheap. You get them from like Walmart.
Yeah, they're like $5. Some
Yeah.
places are a little bit more expensive, but
unless you like,
it's just.
I mean, you don't necessarily have to have one if you know you're not buying a ton of stuff and you're not going to be overweight. And it's like you can wait at home, and it's like I have 20 pounds.
It's always nicer to bring one though, just in case you do end up buying stuff. You got to make sure that your suitcase doesn't go over. And I mean, when I was traveling Australia, the shitty thing was your carry-on had to be a certain weight too. So that made it really hard because between your carry-on and your personal item could only be a certain amount, and your suitcase could only be a certain amount.
So have your scale. It definitely helps.
Scales they're helpful.
Yeah. Speaking of being helpful, if you are going across like to a different country, traveling internationally, you're going to need your passport, obviously. Well, there has been some incidents. My good friend Abby lost her passport, and we're from Canada, and we were flying from February. That's not right. That's not a state. From Florida to California. But yeah, so she lost her passport, and luckily she had a scanned copy on her phone. I mean, it didn't work to get her through. Like you can't just be like, here's a scanned picture. But she had that picture. She had that number on it. And so when she went up to the people and talked to them, they ended up working it out. They called Canada, apparently, figured it out, and she was able to go on the flight, fly there and back, no problem. And it's because she had a picture of it. So take pictures of your identification, take pictures of your documents, passports, driver's license, stuff like that, because you never know. What if you lose your wallet? What if you lose your bag?
I take a picture, and then I also tend to give my mom pictures of it too.
I like take a picture and
send it. My mom can send it to me.
Yes. Or like I'll like take a picture, send it to my mom so it's in our messages, so that way I can like go back through our messages and like find it if I accidentally deleted it or like ran out of storage. So that way you'll always have it there. Like that's where my social insurance number is, because my mom texted it to me when I was in Florida, and that's where I know where it is. Like that's it.
Also, bring a credit card, an emergency credit card. You don't necessarily need to be using it, because just in case something happens, a credit card is always handy. When I first started traveling a lot, I wasn't old enough to have a credit card, so I had my mom's under my name.
So did I.
Which is, if your parents are all on board with you traveling, is a good thing to have, because their credit cards are going to have more of a limit than yours will in case of an emergency.
Yes, it's good to have something just in case. Because you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly. It's unpredictable.
Exactly. Have that.
Even if you're not spending cash, have a little bit on you. You don't want to do what I did in New York. Definitely. I had a little bit of cash on me, but it wasn't enough.
No. Have some emergency cash. Have some emergency credit card or some sort of form of payment. And also, speaking of emergencies, bring first aid stuff. That's the thing. Bring Band-Aids, because you never know. Your shoes could give you blisters, or you can get a sliver in your finger, or you could get a paper cut, or you could break your arm. And like, it's I mean, that's not going to help with Band-Aids. But you know
Also,
what
for
I mean?
flying, gravel is also a good thing to put in your little first aid kit.
Especially if you have not flown a lot or you're prone to getting like airplane
Even if you're not,
nauseous.
sometimes I bring it, like I don't get sick on planes, but I bring it just in case. You never know when
Or like who you're
a
with.
plane's gonna do something and like be in really bad turbulence and it's gonna make you feel nauseous. So you just want to
Yeah.
be careful and it doesn't take up a lot of room.
Yeah, exactly.
Little
I
packet.
think I do bring mine because I have mine in my little like vitamin
Yeah.
kit thing, but I've never felt nauseous on planes or anything like that.
I've
So
only
like,
had to take gravel on my flight to and from Australia.
just because the distance, or
I think it's got to be the distance. Well, and the way there I took it, and it also kind of helps me sleep.
Mhm.
So the way there I took it, but then I fell asleep. But then the way home I did not sleep, and it was a 16-hour flight.
a long time.
Long time to not sleep.
It's a very long time.
Especially considering I think I got like 3 hours of sleep the night before.
Yeah, another thing about traveling, especially if you're traveling for shows, you're not going to get a lot of sleep.
So
Don't expect to.
prepared to get sleep.
I feel like the last few things are definitely to do with saving you money, which I know we all love. If you
And
are,
things to pack.
yes,
Things that are important to pack that we
to
haven't.
also help save money, which is first thing, water bottle. Bring an empty water bottle. Something smaller that you can slip in your purse or your backpack is great.
Or be like me and bring.
I mean, Cass has like a giant water bottle size for her head, bigger than her head, but that's because she drinks a lot of water. So figure out what kind of room
And I
you
need
have.
water all the time, or I get grumpy.
Exactly. So it's like have an extra bottle because you never know. It's good just to have it just in case. So bring a water
You
bottle.
don't always have to pay for water. Like when we were in Disney, that water is expensive.
Exactly.
You want
And
a
you
water
can get
bottle to be able
free,
to fill up at the
exactly. You can get like free cups of water at places and fill it up, and it just saves you so much time and money, and it definitely does save you from getting dehydrated. So bring that. Also, bring an extra charger if you have one, either a portable charger with a cord or a full another like wall charger. If you
Going
have
on to
one,
that, also all the things we talked about in our like GA and like outdoor shows and like all the different kind of shows we talked about in previous episodes. Also, make sure you pack those things because remember you're going to a show.
exactly. So don't forget the essentials because you're gonna need them once you get there. So bring
But
those
yeah,
things.
when we were in California, both Jess and Taylor's chargers simultaneously stopped working. One of their cords stopped working, the other one's block stopped
My
working.
cords stopped working.
So I was the only one that had a working charger.
Yeah, Taylor had the cord. I had the block. But then Taylor left hers on a Greyhound. So then Taylor had nothing. I had a block, and Cass had a full charger. So 3 people with a charger and a half does not go very well. So if you have an extra charger,
Especially when one of the halves is just the block.
yeah,
Doesn't go very far.
I think she lost her block is what happened because the blocks don't tend to really break. So if you're bringing anything, bring a cord. You can bring one of the tiny ones too. Like you can get like the tiny ones from 7-Eleven. Take up like no space. They're super, super light, and it just saves you time, especially because if your like your charger breaks, it sucks. You have to go buy a new one. Like it's not something you can go without.
I have another tip for when you're flying. Make sure the headphones you bring, wireless is good for when you're like just want to wear your headphones and like listen to music. But if you want to watch a movie on one of the planes, make sure you have headphones
That have the circle.
that have the circle because that's how it plugs in. You won't be able to use this.
Yeah, the one with like the rectangle doesn't work for planes. It's always going to be the circle. I mean, at least until planes update everything, but I doubt that'll ever happen.
Even then,
So
I don't know if they will because a lot of phone companies still use these. Like it's nice to have wireless ones so you can charge your phone and like not have to worry about a cord. But if you want to
especially
watch
for long flights.
if you want to watch something on the TV on your front seat, make sure you have the right kind of headphones.
Yeah, I just honestly recommend bringing both. And all you people love your AirPods and everything, but you sometimes want to watch the TV, so bring a pair of like
Especially on a
standard
long flight.
headphones. Yes, and
I wasn't able to watch that TV on my flights to and from Australia. I don't know what I would do.
yeah. So bring something just in case. Again, they take up like no space at all. Go to the freaking dollar store and buy a pair of headphones for $2 that work. They won't be the greatest, but they'll work. That way you can use your AirPods to listen to stuff
And,
when your phone's
and
dead.
sometimes airlines will go around asking people if they need some. But again, they're not good headphones. They're like the ones that you buy in bulk and they're crappy and sometimes they don't even work.
Exactly. Half the time, yeah, they're all gross and staticky. They don't work. Half the ear head things are broken. Like, you never really know. So be prepared. Just plan ahead of time. Go to the dollar store. Bring gum. That's another
Bring
big
hand
thing.
sanitizer.
Bring
Bring
gum.
like wipe things. Yeah, but bring like wipe things, like wipe down the things because they don't clean them very well. Now with COVID,
Oh,
they are
yeah.
cleaning them better. But
I mean,
clean
personally, I've never done that, but bring hand sanitizer because, like, you never know what you're going to
yeah,
touch and stuff. And if you're eating or whatever, but yeah, it's good just to have stuff just in case. You never know.
yeah, exactly. A way of saving money is like eat like if you're going to a show, don't eat at the venue. Eat
Yes.
outside of the venue. If you are gonna eat before your flight, eat before you get to the airport, or eat
Yeah.
after you get away from the airport because
Eat
the airport
away from like the
you
destinations.
hike up the prices as much as they can, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And you know what?
So,
They make money doing it.
oh, 100%.
Try your best not to do it because it's expensive,
Yeah.
and no
And
one
like
can do
certain situations, you're going to have to, like super early morning flights. Well, you know what? You might just have to grab a bite to eat at the
that.
airport, but you don't always have to do that. If you plan ahead of time, grab granola bars, grab muffins, grab apples, grab bananas, do whatever you need to do from like 7-Eleven or the closest grocery store so you have something just in case. And so that way you can avoid paying the super expensive airport or venue or tourist destination prices because those are pricey sometimes and not worth it. So just be smart about it, plan ahead. Yeah,
Exactly.
I think
I
that's
think
it.
it's, I think this is our last like normal episode. Our
Mhm.
final episode of the season is going to be a little bit different.
We're going to leave it up to your imagination to figure it
Um,
out,
I'm
but
excited to do that. We still have to kind of plan it a bit, but
it should be fun. So make sure
yeah,
you subscribe and stay tuned for next week's episode because it's going to be a good one.
it really is. It's going to be an exciting one.
Hmm.
I'm really tired today.
But with
But,
Cass falling asleep, I think this is going to be the end of this episode.
yeah. But if they want to find you on Instagram or Twitter, where can they find you?
On Twitter, you can find me at _ it's just Taylor, or on Instagram, you can find me at jfolds1195. And where can they find you?
On Instagram, it's at Kassidy Lesser, and on Twitter, it's at _Kassidy Page.
And if they want to find us both on Instagram on our podcast account, where can they find us?
It is at Our Turn Official, and in our bio, we have a little Linktree link that kind of sends you to our Spotify profile, our Anchor profile, or YouTube profile, all the places you can listen and stream the podcast that we blab on for a
Exactly.
little while about.
Yeah, so you can
But
stay
yeah,
tuned, stay updated, get all the updates on there and all the fun little things that are to come. So, yeah, with
yeah,
that being said, that is it for today. Thank you guys for tuning
yeah.
in.
For tuning in, and I'm gonna go and curl up in my jacket and go to bed. We will see you next week, and we're excited for next week's show to happen.
Very much so. Bye, guys.
See ya.